right, today I'm reviewing the book Nemesis Games. Spoiler warning, I'm going to spoil everything that happens in this book. And so if you do not want to be spoiled, you should go read this book, which is quite a tome, and then come back and watch this review. Nemesis Games is book 5 in the Expanse series. And in this book, our heroes are separated for probably the first time in the entire series. Alex has gone to deal with his ex on Mars. Naomi has gone to deal with her ex. Amos has gone back to Earth to deal with the death of someone that he used to know there. And then Holden kind of stays behind to hold down the fort on the ship. And then in the background, ships are mysteriously disappearing throughout the solar system and no one knows why. And then things just escalate way up when an extreme offshoot of the OPA decides, hey, we need people to pay attention to us. And so the character Marco Inaros decides to send an asteroid towards Earth. And we end the book with our heroes trying to figure out, what is Marco going to do next? And how do we stop him? And then at the end of the book, there's still this mystery about why these ships are disappearing, and it doesn't appear to be Marco's fault. So there's some other mystery at play here. So yeah, I've been reading the Expanse series for a while, actually for the last couple of years. It's been slow going because I've been reading the books and then I've also been watching the TV show at the same time. And so this is the latest. I will get through it eventually. All right, so first of all, what did I like about this book? The first is that it is really interesting to see what happens when this group is separated. We have had this group together for so many books, and that was great, but then it's also hard to really get to know any of these characters individually. In the previous books, there were some of these characters, most of these characters actually didn't have their own point of view chapters written about them. And so you didn't really get to know them. This is, I think, the first book where you really get to know a little bit of the backstory behind each of the characters. And so you really just get to see how they grow and how they interact without the rest of the group members there. And then they come back together at the end, but it's interesting to think that, some things are the same and looks like everything is okay again, but I'm sure that things have changed because these characters have changed. And so it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic between them might change in the future books. I'll say that out of all the backstories that we got, the most interesting one is probably Naomi's. We have seen her up to now mostly as a good character, a noble character, but in this you get to really see it's not that simple. There are definitely some areas of gray there, some pretty dark stuff that she's been a part of in the past, even if she wasn't fully intentionally doing that stuff. And I think the tension that is caused by the fact that she's been kind of hiding this from the rest of her crew is pretty interesting. And then just kind of following her story through this book was pretty interesting overall, especially at the end, that stunt that she does where she basically flies through space without her EVA suit. It was pretty thrilling, I'm not gonna lie. And then another thing I liked was just how the speed of the story picks up when the asteroid hits Earth. I definitely did not expect such a dramatic turn, so they're really ramping up the stakes here. I think in a way that is mostly good, though I did find myself wondering, is this a bit too extreme? It almost stretches the bounds of belief of what these characters could actually do. But it's like I just gotta suspend disbelief for a second and really just ingest the dynamics and intentions of the authors here. One of which I think is probably to just show what happens when you have an oppressed group who thinks that this is their only option. And of course it is horrific and not what you should do, but you could kind of, if you squint your eyes, see into the minds of these characters and see why they're motivated to do this. They always say that the best villains are the ones who have something that's relatable about them or where you can kind of see their point of view. And I think this is definitely one that falls into that category. And I have to say it also evokes some of the themes of things that are happening in real life today with terrorism, and it seems just relevant. Now, finally, I have to say that I alternated between the Kindle and the audio version of this book. And when I was listening to the audio version, I really liked it. I thought the narrator was pretty good, the voice acting was pretty good, and it actually added a lot. It makes me want to just listen to the rest of the series on audio as well. So what do I not like about this book? The main thing I'll say is that it just took me a while to get through it. I started reading it at the beginning of this year, and I finished basically at the end of August. And it's mainly my fault. I was trying to read too many other books at once and got kind of overwhelmed. And so if I had just kind of dedicated my time and energy to this one book, I would have finished sooner. But also part of it is maybe in the middle of the book, it wasn't grabbing my attention as much and I felt a little bit less motivated to read it. And that probably also contributed to why it took me so long to get through it. But in the end, when I finally picked it up and started finishing it, it was thumbs up. I really liked it. The other thing I don't really like is how at the end of the book, it seems like Clarissa Mal is probably going to be brought back into the group. And I know right now the characters are like, no way, you've done all this horrible stuff. There's no way we're going to let you back in. But I have a feeling that by the time we get to the next book, she's going to be back in. And that stretches belief a little bit for me if that happens. But we'll see. I haven't read the next book yet, so I could be completely wrong. All right, so what did I think about this book overall? I have to say that despite the fact that it took me so long to get through, I did really like it. The writing was great. The plot developments were great. I loved seeing how the characters got fleshed out. And so for that reason, I would give this book 4 out of 5 stars. I am looking forward to reading the next book, but I have to say there's so much to read. I'm only about halfway through this series now, and so I think there's at least 4 or 5 books to read in this series alone. I have a bunch of other books I'm trying to get through right now, such as the Mistborn series and the Stormlight Archive, and a bunch of nonfiction books I'm also reading. So I gotta prioritize. First world problem for sure, just too much good stuff to read, but I'm excited for this next one when I finally get to it. All right, if you read this book, I would also love to hear what you thought about it, so please leave a comment below with your thoughts. As always, if you liked this video, hit the like button, which will help others find it, and subscribe for more. Peace.